Hello there. Good morning, Monday morning. Welcome to Catching Up with Kieran over coffee about Cronulla, or Catching Up for Coffee with Kieran about Cronulla. This is SharkCast pod, of course. My name is Sam Shinazzi, an OG from 2015, supporting the team a lot longer, shivering away over here this winter with my good friend Kieran Fraser. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes of Crips and Crips Real Estate. And we're just going to bring him right on in here. Kieran, good morning. What's that you're wearing?
So this is a jersey that we wore one time in 2004. So again, it's got the black up top, it's got the blue where the white is, and it was a game. I think it was against the Melbourne Storm, and they wore it once, and it's never came back again. So one of the listeners, Sharky Sean, helped me get my hands on this one. This is kind of one of the grail pieces that I've never been able to find. I think it's popped up once on eBay. It may be like the last few years that I've been searching for it. So shout out to him, and really appreciate him helping me get my hands on it.
Yeah, I think it's Sharks to Sean, not Sharky Sean, but we
There
know
you
who
go.
Sean is. He's a great Sharks fan, and this show comes to you with the Sharks losing 4 of their last 5 games. Kieran, we're going to jump straight into reactions, feelings, thoughts, emotions, theories. Sharks losing 15-14 overtime, as they say in the classics, extra time, golden point. I'm still rattled from the game, so I don't really know what I'm saying here, but disappointing to say the least. I watched the game back a few times, and it's nowhere near as bad as what people are making out. Result, horrendous. Opportunities, missed. Second half, absolutely dominated them, I thought. Came back really well. The slow starts are horrendous. Got to stop that. Got to make more of your opportunities. Tell me what's going on in your big brain of yours.
Frustration, mate. I mean, it's one of those things where there's been a lot of talk that they're fixing certain things, and those issues keep coming back. Missed opportunities. There was 2 goals that could have really changed the game, and I think when we missed that second goal, you kind of got that feeling that that might actually hurt us down the track. The silly penalty to give away when we were leading by 2, but there was no need for it. Penalties on fifth tackle, missed field goal from 15 meters out. It was just one of those games where if things were going the right way, we wouldn't be in the position. I mean, credit to the Dogs; they defended really well. The Dogs are a much improved team, so I don't think you can kind of write them off. They'll probably play finals football this year with the way they're going.
Mm.
The way this competition is, it's such a weird situation. I mean, the Dragons are coming sixth or something like that now. Like it's a strange competition this year. So that kind of tells me the competition is open, and if we were actually doing better, we should be thereabouts. But right now we seem to be going backwards at a bit of a rapid pace, which is really frustrating.
Yeah, so I think results-wise, we're obviously going backwards. I think performance-wise, we're kind of just treading water. I don't know if we're going backwards anymore. We're just in this spot that we can't get out of, and that includes slow starts. It includes not icing games. Let's get to the field goal straight away, because I was under the impression for a little while that the pass wasn't crisp, etc. The pass was fine. Sifa Talakai was unbelievable. Our man, the king of carrying bar, just didn't get the field goal. That's the bottom line, as our friend Stone Cold says. Like, that's it. There's no more. And we're not here to sink the boot in. We're huge fans of Nico. We'll talk about Nico, pros and cons, where he's at. But we can't hide from that fact that Nico scuffed it to the left. We're going to move on. He's going to move on. Things will get better. But, yeah, definitely a missed opportunity to ice the game. What are your thoughts on the field goal miss?
I mean, I think it goes back to the first one with Trindle. I mean,
Oh,
the fact that Trindle took that one over Nico, I thought was a little bit, eyebrow raising, considering Trindle, I don't think has kicked a field goal in the NRL just yet. And Nico, we've seen kick some, pretty decent field goals, right? I saw some conversation from Gal, who was a bit filthy at Sifa, saying that he's got to get that tackle not so close to the try line, because basically in that scenario, if Siffer gets taken down on the 10, you're creating an extra 10 meters of space for Nico. Now, I understand the thought process of get it as close as possible to make it as easy as possible, but it all just looked disjointed, and I think the better play might have been to have taken a tackle there and maybe reset ourselves rather than trying to force that field goal, because the strike was pretty horrendous.
So it was fourth tackle, yeah?
It wasn't the last. I don't think it was the last at all. It might have been third or fourth, but it definitely wasn't the last.
Now, we love Paul Gallen. He's the GOAT.
He's the king.
And he's not wrong. Like, what he's talking about from a tactic point of view, he's not wrong. You can't bring up that after that run and then kind of
absolutely.
You kind of deflecting from the fact that the 7 should have got the field goal. It's
Yeah.
got like yes. If there's more space, there's more time. I get it. But no, it's a no from me. I'm sorry, Gal. Love you, but it's a no.
Yeah.
In the NFL, it's a thing. We know that as NFL fans. It's a thing. In the NRL, it's a live action game, and in theory, a lot more. You just should be ready for those moments. And you could see on Nico's face afterwards the disbelief.
Yeah.
And that kind of broke my heart, because it was like, A, how did I miss it? And B, what he was already thinking, what did I do wrong? Like,
yeah,
just went to the left, bro. Like, there are other important things we need to talk about, like giving away that penalty, the last one. That is beyond unacceptable. If fans out there think the missed field goal is unacceptable, go back and watch what the number 8 did in that moment. Will Kennedy is in position. It's a horrendous grubber kick. Will Kennedy's going to pick it up and probably run 10 meters. There's 4 minutes left in the clock, maybe. Toby Rudolph just grabs the kicker, or whoever it was, the guy running through, for no reason. It's a clear penalty.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not here to say one guy caused this or that. I guess I'm disputing all that. It's a mixture of all of it. But that capped off a really poor game from Toby Rudolph. Just if you look at his numbers alone, so forget about the naked eye watch. His numbers, 33 minutes, 8 runs, 60 meters, 17 post-contact meters of those. 23 tackles, 2 misses, 3 penalties given away, and all 3 were just super costly. So
I think all 3 led to points, right?
I think so, yeah. And again, it's not one guy, but that one guy there in those moments really caused some damage. So anyone who's looking to pull the pin on one guy, it's a team effort. And they're just 2 moments that were glaring. That's why I'm kind of not putting a line through the season, Kieran, because in a lot of ways we're super close. Like, Nico misses the field goal by a little bit. It wasn't by a lot. It went to the left. If he gets it, happy days. I think if Toby doesn't give away that penalty, I think we hang on. The Dogs aren't doing much because they were 2 points behind. The danger was maybe a 2-point field goal, which obviously old mate could get from anywhere on the field, but I'm happy to take that chance. First set of the game, our captain, who we love, adore, admire, drops the ball in our own 20. There's some repeat sets, and we concede. That's the bad start. The bad start came from the captain dropping the ball. So it's individual efforts. Go watch that go watch the second half, go watch the extra time. They're playing well as a team. The team's playing well. It's individuals letting them down. And that stuff's hard to coach. It's hard to stop. It's hard to stop a guy putting his hands out because he's so tired, giving away a penalty. So, super disappointing game.
Yeah, and I think the frustrating thing as a fan is that the Bulldogs didn't really look like they were threatening the Sharks from a defensive standpoint, right? And the Sharks found a way to beat themselves. And they've done that a couple of times this year where they've done a lot of these really bad errors and silly penalties, penalties on the last tackle, that sort of thing, that you're just going, this is infuriating. How have we not addressed this and fixed this? And we know they're working on it, and we know they're trying to get better at it, but these things seem to keep happening. And, I think the Bulldogs defended really well, but I don't think the Bulldogs attacked really well. And, even that try where Kickout scores, Toby goes to grab the ball, but then sees Kennedy, who's further away, sliding in, and
Trindle,
then takes his hands away. Or Trindle, you're right, it was Trindle. Yeah. And then he takes his hands away and shows no urgency towards picking up that ball. And then Kickout runs past him, picks the ball up, and scores. Those sort of things are just infuriating.
Yeah, so Toby's trying to do the right thing, but then he's put himself in the right position, but he's made the wrong call. But that try was fluky and also because of us. That was a great point you made.
Exactly.
So they scored one try basically through us. Our 2 tries were super smart and clever from our edge man, just brilliant put down. They were
hard tries to get.
They were hard to get. They were well earned. Katoa with a great put down, and then Ronaldo with an amazing catch and little kick for Trindle, and Trindle did really well as well. So it was a tough, tight game, no doubt, but it was ours to win. And at a point, they're going to start regretting these losses. The losses are ones mostly that could be largely avoided. We should be sitting nice and high, probably first. But
they've given up 4 points in the last 2 weeks. And if we had those extra 4 points, we'd be equal 28th with the Storm.
Yeah, throw in a few other losses. Absolutely. And I'm not a guy that usually will say that kind of thing, but it's pretty obvious this year that that's what's going on. And, if they're not going to start winning soon, they're going to start putting that top 4 spot in jeopardy. And you put that in jeopardy, man, and you are making up numbers. I don't think we're making up numbers now, but if we drop out of that 4 at the end of the year, you're making up numbers. So they need to get it together, and they've got a week. They will have a week to turn it around. We've got Titans on Friday, which we'll get to, but that's not going to be. There's no more easy games. It's an easy run home because we're not playing the Storm every week, but there's no easy games. I mean,
it's a congested competition. The Titans are, at times have really put in. The Tigers absolutely towed the Sharks up in round, 2 or 3, whatever that was, right?
Well, the thing with them is they were pretty bad yesterday, but the Roosters were red hot. But we've seen the Tigers when they turn up with all their energy that they're really hard to stop. So that in 2 weeks' time won't be easy. The derby is in Wollongong maybe? That's not going to be there's no real easy one. So, and that's not a problem. We've got a good team that can play good footy, but they got to start turning it around. Let's talk about some of the individuals. Let's go back to the King of Caringbah, Nicho Hynes. I just noticed he made 32 tackles, no misses. 32 tackles. 32 tackles, Kieran, is top 3 most for the Sharks. So he was targeted.
Wow.
He did well defensively, absolutely. Against Kickout, they pretty much shut him down. Him and Jesse did a good job. But that meant there wasn't a lot of steam to do a lot else. He did half the kicks of Trindle for obviously half the meters. So whether that was planned, whether that was circumstance, I'm not sure. But he needs to start grabbing the game by the hook as well, because I think the more weeks that float by where he doesn't sort of take the situation, I'm not talking about field goals, I'm just talking about taking the team and making it his own again. I think that there's just going to be more questions about him and his state of mind and all that stuff that we're hearing. It's how's Nicho? What's Nicho? Nicho. Like, it's getting out of control. And the thing that disappointed me the most was that in one play, he could have saved himself from all this crap. He could have iced the game. We've seen him ice games before. There's no disputing he can do it.
Yeah.
He's a talented guy. He's, in a regular season, he's top tier. So he needs to get back to that top tier. How do you think he does it? Is it just working hard? What's he going to do?
I mean, I think the Nico bashing and blaming is kind of a lazy narrative, but it's the most obvious and easy one there, right?
Yeah.
I look at that game and yes, when he missed that goal, I thought that was going to be very costly, and it did prove out to be. I mean, the first one he missed was on his wrong side. I can kind of cop those ones. After the Ronaldo try, I thought that he would nail that one. He
Yep.
didn't.
Yep.
And then obviously the missed field goal, right? So these things all feed into it. And the stuff I see online is just ridiculous. And it's so personal and targeted at him. And then people wonder, why would this guy get, affected by these sort of things? But just go and read some of the comments on some of the pages. And, I don't think Nico does that sort of stuff. And I know he does a lot of work on himself.
Yeah.
But, it's just giving a punchline to a lot of people, right? And, I think the way he gets himself out of this is by, simplifying his game and doing what he did well on the weekend. Like, he defended really well. They threw kick out at him, and there was plenty of times where he was doing check and releases on kick out and then bringing in kick out, which is super hard because of the size of kick out. And he defended really well. So he's got to go back to his game, look at those positives and say, all right, what are the easiest things that I can improve on? And I think the number one thing is his kicking game and how he combines that with Trindle. It's been a little bit disjointed. I think the last 4 games that we've lost, it's all been with Nico in the team, right? And I'm not blaming Nico for that at all.
No.
But I think the one thing I've sort of seen is a little bit of deflection off to people like Trindle. And I think, maybe it's a case of, all right, well, I'm the man. I'm being paid like the man. I need to step up and I need to try and nail these things and work on my defense, work on my kicking game. And the other stuff will flow off the back of that, right? And, the combination with Brayley was really good at the start of the year. The combination with Kennedy has been really good in the past. We haven't seen a lot of Will Kennedy's attack this year because he's been covering up so much about defense. So I think, he can definitely pull it out, and I think he will. But he's got to, use these 2 games before the bye and really look to go, okay, how do we kind of address this? Because the noise is going to come every single time we play. And I think if we can get off to some good starts and not play these tight tussles that we keep finding ourselves in, we can address these things. He needs his forwards to stand up for him as well because, there was a lot of issues in that game. And it's just not just Nico.
Absolutely not. You're not looking for any kind of like try assist or anything like that. You just want him to kind of just steady the ship and
I want the kicking game, right? And so take a step back and look at Mitchell Moses, right? Mitchell Moses has been hammered for a long time for being a choke artist, right? And, I am a person that has been very critical of Mitchell Moses. And he's not a player that I would want at my club because of how he carries himself, how I see him talk to other players. I mean, if you saw that last try that the Knights scored, he absolutely turns around and sprays Clint Gutherson. And, just how he carries himself, he's not my kind of guy. But he's gone out and he's worked on his game. His defense has really picked up, and his kicking game has become up there with Nathan Cleary's for the best in the league, right? And so you can't create a new leg or leg power and get better or that sort of stuff. But what he can do is be very focused and committed in the execution of the game plan, right? Kicking the corners, backing the defense, and all those little things. I think if we consistently do that stuff and, pin teams down in their end and, our big forwards get that momentum, I think all the other stuff will start flowing off it, right? He will start getting those try assists. He's got Nakora next to him, right? That, Nakora will run those lines. He's got Ramian as well. Katoa out there. There's a lot of guys that will get the points for him. He's just got to put us in the right situations, I think.
Interesting to note as well, the play where they got the field goal, so last set of the game, the offloads were flying thick and fast, and we contained them pretty well throughout the game. But in that set, they let them fly, and that's how they got down there to a kickable place for Burton. Yeah. So it comes back to the team, comes back to focus, concentration, energy. They're 5-minute halves, Golden Point, in theory. So, well, no, they're 5-minute halves, I should say. So they had 5-minute stint, and they got to probably the 3rd or 4th minute of that, and they just couldn't contain the offloads. And I'm not out there. I understand it's hard, but you got to find a way. And I think that is something that no one's spoken of either. The defense well, I mean, it was pretty deflating, I guess, after the missed field goal. Like, I get that heads went down, but sorry, you're fighting for the points. You can't put your head down. You got to just
I mean,
pick
Burton
yourself
missed
up.
2 field goals before he kicked one, right? So,
Yeah.
he keeps trying. He keeps turning up, and the Dogs kept going. It's all right. We'll get there. We'll get to that position. And it doesn't matter if we're 40 meters out. We'll try and bang one over from there, right? And that's the mentality we got to have.
Wasn't happy with the first one, Trindle. Like he was on like a further side than where he should have been. Players were all over the shop. Gave away a penalty for a guy obstructing, which I thought was really harsh. You and I have spoken about the 6 again for Jesse Ramian towards the end of the game, which was costly. I've gone over that with a fine-tooth comb, and if I was Coach Fitzgibbon, I'd be calling up the referee's boss and saying, what the hell was that? Because to my estimation, it's around a 2-second tackle. He's holding him down for 2 seconds, and in the world of rugby league, 2 seconds is fine. He makes the decision to look up at the ref, which the players do, trying to see how much time they got to hold them down, and that triggered the ref to blow the whistle. Extremely harsh call, one that I was surprised at the time, and I looked back at it and I was like, this is bogus. Like that wasn't a fair call. Like there was a bunch of others. Nico held one down. I think Trindle held one down. There was a bunch in the last 10 which were fine and allowed and fair, I should say. But the one against Ramian, which I think is around the time the next set where Toby gives away the penalty, it wasn't one. And I think it was even, I can't tell you if it was fifth tackle, but it was towards the end of a set.
It was fifth tackle.
Yeah, ridiculous. I felt for Jesse in that spot. So let's get to a positive. Sifa Talakai, 100th game. He played 60 minutes from the second row, mostly ran for 140 meters, 20 tackles, just another beast mode performance. And there was a lot of focus on him last week, and rightly so. 100 games in the NRL. He's really impressed me this year, Kieran, with his versatility, with his attitude in particular. He's super impressive. He's impressive.
My question to you, and I thought Sipa was red hot to start the season. I think he's been really good for us in the middle, especially as that impact off the bench. I guess my question to you, mate, is who do you have? Your life's on the line. There's aliens now hovering above Shark Park with a laser gun pointed right between your eyes, and they say you need to win this game or we're going to shoot you between those beautiful eyes, Sam. Who is your center? Is it Iro or is it Talakai?
Depends who we're playing against, but
let's say it's Penrith. Or Melbourne, like one of the top tier teams, right?
It's I know there's a gun pointed at me, but it's tough, man, because Iro brings a lot defensively, and Talakai brings a lot offensively, and they both have pros and cons. And we've seen Talakai fail in defense at the top level, like we can't sugarcoat that. Now, I'm not saying you can't improve on that, but we've also seen the points dry up a bit with Iro there. And his man Ronaldo to the left. So if it's a finals game, I'm probably going Iro, to be honest, at this point in time. But I know where you're going.
Yeah, I don't know the right answer myself, right? And I think there is that question of, right, well, what does that do to the rest of the team, right? Where is Sifa playing? He's coming off the bench now. What does our bench look like? And all those type of things, right? But I think my point to that is we've seen Iro now for 9-10 games, and he's looked very decent, but we have still seen some points dry up on that side. So I actually don't know the answer to that question of which one do I actually prefer. And I think I would like now to kind of have a more definitive answer based on the sample size that I've seen.
I get the feeling that if the Sharks stop giving away these stupid starts, that we're winning games by 6 to 12, maybe more points. And it's probably not a conversation we're having because they are losing only by a little bit of late, and you're probably not relying on those points because you're ahead by points already. You're not chasing. If you're chasing points, I'm probably going to put Talakai in there.
It's super frustrating because when the Sharks chase points, they score points. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, why did we have to dig ourselves into such a hole to get ourselves out of it? Whereas, if we cannot even start red hot, but, just get through our sets, and then put some points on, we would be winning these games by 18 points or 12 points, whatever it is. And it's a completely different ball game. And we're backing our defense to actually hold these teams out. So it's
so as Peter Sterling calls it, the modern game. In the modern game, if you don't have the ball, it's not good, because now we have repeat sets, we have penalties, we have infringements, we have sin bins. Pretty easy to get these days. You don't want to be defending in this game, no matter how good your defense is. And our defense is decent. We've seen it. Stats wise, it's decent. Like there's not major issues with our defense. But if you drop the ball on your first set, and then they have a set, they get a repeat set, another repeat set, that's 18 tackles in your line. Even the best teams, they concede after 18 tackles on their own line.
Yeah.
So that's your bad start, because the guy drops the ball, your mate holds down a guy for a second longer. That's your bad start.
Yeah.
I'm not making light of it or saying it's not a thing. It's a massive thing for Cronulla. But it's so easy to correct. Don't drop the ball. Don't hold the guy down.
Yeah, it's one of those frustrating things, right? You could see how devastated Cam was in the press conference after the game, right?
He has nothing to apologize for.
I mean, he did put his hand up there and he said, that's on me. I caused that, right? And it's that momentum and flow and effect where one.
But you know what?
Leads to other things.
Tackle better for your mate who's the best guy in the team.
Yeah, look, I'm completely agreeing with you. But if you look at the season too, the frustration has been there has been so many tries where we've conceded where we kind of go, well, that was kind of like that was a difficult try for them to score. Like that was a bit lucky. Like the ball bounced the right way. Like even the kick out one, right? Like that sort of stuff. But when those things happen consistently and you put yourselves in those positions, you have to go back and look at, well, how did we end up here, right? And so it goes back to don't drop the ball. All right, your mates drop the ball. We need to then defend better, and all those type of things need to start coming together. So it's. I keep going back to this point, and I know that I was pretty critical on Toby earlier, in this episode. And to be totally fair, I think it was the worst game I've ever seen Toby play, and I actually would like him dropped for it because it was that bad. But we need Hamlin Ueli, and we need Toby, and we need them fit, because right now, like those two guys on our depth chart are our 1 and 2 props. And right now, we just haven't been able for the last 2 years to get those two guys fit and on the field. So how we do that mid-season, I'm not sure. But I think, if we're to dig ourselves out of it, we need those guys to be actually delivering for us.
So Hamlin didn't train last week due to a flu-type condition. He missed the game on Friday, but he played for the Jets on the weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm not disputing. I know for a fact he was genuinely unwell.
Yeah.
They still wanted him out there for the Jets, so that tells you something about the fitness. And when we say fitness, we're talking match fitness. The guy's obviously a fit person.
Yeah.
We're talking match fitness. So I think that the coaching staff agree with you that we need him out there. Come on, let's accelerate this. How can we do it? You go play for the Jets. The Toby thing. The only positive I'm getting out of it is the fact that he's a pretty genuine, honest guy, and he knows how bad he was. Like he would not. He'd be the first person to say, "Man, I was really bad," and I'm not saying that makes it okay, but at least he would acknowledge it. He will try and improve on that if he gets the chance this week. But it does open up bigger questions, and that is. You've told Royce Hunt he can go shop himself around, but in 20 minutes he's run for 60 metres, busting tackles, being dominant as. Now, it's 20 minutes. Can he go for 45, Kieran? Can he go for 50? I don't know if he can. But he's kind of our best forward at the moment. So that scares me that you've told your best forward you can go have a look elsewhere, and there's 6 clubs lining up to get him. We've got Oregon Kafusi, who we've praised before on the show, and he was solid on the weekend, but I don't know if he's our starting guy moving forward. We know we've got a big hombre coming in to take one of the positions at least. But Toby's signed, right? Like he's a
He was signed, I think he was signed in November, I think, for another 2 or 3 years. So he's here long term. So was Hamlin Ueli. So was AFB, right? So Hazelton, I think I saw that the club might have picked up the option on him as well. So he's
I hope so.
re-signed as well.
Yeah.
So you've got this nucleus, right? And we've talked about it on this show before of like how do you find the best puzzle pieces and fit together, and the need for experience because you can't have a green, middle because other teams will go and aggressively attack that.
Yeah.
So it's really a case now of Toby going back and looking himself in the mirror and saying, all right, well, I've got to address that, but. It was one of those situations.
Well, the problem I have with that is, I mean, he's had some decent games this year, and we've talked about it. He's had some 8 out of 10 games. But when I look at his career, I don't think of him as an 8 out of 10 player, and I never really have. And watching that on the weekend, that to me doesn't scream long-term deal, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's positives to Toby Rudolph. Like, he'll try his guts out. I mean, he played for, what have we got, 33 minutes. So it wasn't even a long stint for Topes compared to other weeks he's played. I think he's playing injured. I think he's not sort of the fittest he's ever been. And I think that's a problem. And when you're latching on to the guy running past you who doesn't have the ball, it's a desperation kind of move. He's doing it for the team. He thinks he's doing the right thing. It's clearly the wrong thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I just wonder what the future is, and I'm not basing it on one game. I'm honestly not. We'll see what happens this week, where he's named. We'll see if there's any statements or anything. Again, they didn't lose because of one guy. But he did have, I would suggest, a career worst game. And I don't want any of these guys to be having career worst games, let alone in our run to the final. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
I just thought that if we hadn't had that bad start, and the problem with the bad start is we spoke about the bad start, and they spoke about the bad start, and the media spoke about this bad start. It wasn't going to happen this week. It did. I don't know. You just got to be more focused. I don't know what the situation is. I can't even really blame. I personally can't blame the coach because it's like, well, I know that they're working on it.
Well,
but what happens when a guy drops the ball? It's like, that's on one person, unless it's the guy passing it, which I don't think it was.
Yeah. And it's just so insane because we've been watching rugby league for a very long time. And it's so strange to see a team consistently falling behind and falling into these sort of holes and then pulling themselves back up and then going back in a press conference and say, yeah, we did well to fight our way out of it, all that type of stuff, right? So
which
it's one of those weird things of saying, well, how do we shift that mentality back to a normal sort of world where we are starting and we're not causing these things that are going to cause us pain? And even it might be similar to the Nico point where we're talking about it so much that we're making it into a thing.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a thing now. It is 100% a thing now.
Yep.
And the whole focus for this game coming up against the Titans will be the start. And everybody in the pre-game will be talking about it. And everybody will be talking about it all week whenever this game is brought up. And the Titans, they'll be talking about if we can get off to a fresh start against these guys, we can get them into a mental hole, and then we've just got to hold on, right? And that's what teams will start to do is they'll try and start to front load all their energy into that first 20 and then just hold on for grim life because it's shown that you can pile points on the Sharks in the first 20. Crazy.
So the problem with rugby league is it's such a short-term memory thing. We haven't done this all year. There's been games where we've come out and we've won because we've dominated from the start.
Yeah.
First set of the Roosters game. Perfect set, perfect try. Like,
Bang.
we can do it.
That's a great point.
And we've done it more than once. It's more than the Roosters game. However, as you said, we're now in a bit of a pattern. So, need to get out of that. Kieran, we're off to Coffs Harbour this Friday night. And if you're heading out that way, there's lots of Sharky things going on. So I urge you to check out the Sharks social crew. And if you're not on the socials, I don't blame you. Get on the website. But there's a bunch of stuff happening. There's Captain's Run. There's the merch van's out there most of the week. I think there's a few other events locally happening. So if you're heading out there for the week, have a great time. If you're heading out there for the day or night, have a great time. But there is a bunch of stuff happening if that's the way you want to approach your week. Titans are going to be challenging. They like to score points, Kieran, and this will not be an easy game. We do need to accelerate this episode, Kieran, for deadline reasons. So we're going to take you straight to your favorite part of the week, which is Random Shark of the Week. I'm hovering over two guys, to be honest. I don't know which way to go. I really don't. I feel like you're going to get both, which sucks. I feel like one's slightly more obscure than the other. But I'm
You're
just
making me
going...
nervous.
No, you got nothing to be nervous about. I'm just going to go... I'm going to go with...
Is today the day Toshio gets his name called?
No, it's not. I saw him, but I'm going to go with this guy. Whatever. We're on deadline. Sorry, listeners. I've done my best. Born 28th of July, 1983. His playing weight was 87 kilograms. His height was 182 centimeters.
What's that in feet?
I don't know. Why are you asking me those questions?
I mean, I grew up in Australia, but my whole knowledge of height is based on professional wrestling.
He's from parts unknown.
Leon Bott.
It's not Leon Bott. And I want to know from listeners if you should, not that you've needed this to be fair, but if listeners and viewers feel like you should only get a certain number of chances, I'd like to know, because that would be one, and that would be a pa-bum. He played in total 37 NRL games. Okay, 37 NRL games. He finished his NRL career in 2008. And he played 37 games. 1, 2, 3. He played for 4 different clubs.
You've got me on that one now. I was thinking it was going to be Missy Talapapa, but that's not my guess.
What a great player Missy Talapapa was. One of those sort of underdogs that you think he's not going to be that good, but he was actually pretty handy.
And I remember there was one game where I think someone scored a try on him and he just started throwing hands. It was amazing.
he was a tough kid. I wouldn't.
He just started throwing punches at the guy who scored. It was unbelievable.
Not Missy Talapapa. He is. I'm not going to give you his junior club, but I'll say that he was Sutherland Shire based. Now, the Sutherland Shire, whether you like it or not, is a big, vast area of suburbs. So keep that in mind. But
full of Bulldogs players. It's ridiculous.
Well, keep your prejudices to yourself and out of this show. But I'm just saying, it's a big Shire. But I would say that he was in a junior club in the Shire. All right.
I think the Shire ends at Miranda, by the way.
We should.
I've just offended half the listeners.
I almost said something was going to offend everyone, but I didn't. We love Miranda.
I love Miranda.
Even though his name is Sutho, I think that's where Sutho Dan still resides. Or have I given too much away in the podcast world and he's going to get people stalking him?
I take everything nice back I said about Miranda then.
Dan's okay. Dan's doing it tough because of the team and we're talking too much about Dan. No. We love Dan. So. He didn't play. So he played for 4 clubs. He didn't play any more than 18 games at each club. So 18 was the maximum amount of games he played at each club. His career was from 03 to 08. He spent 1 season at the mighty Cronulla Sharks. At this point, I'm not going to tell you what season it is yet, but he spent 1 season between 03 and 08. He also played for, in no order, I'm going to make this as hard as I can for you. In no order, he played for the Panthers, the Bulldogs, and the Dragons. Panthers, Bulldogs, Dragons, Sharks, in no order.
Craig Stapleton.
No. but
Oh,
I admire
I
the
swear
guess.
he didn't play for Bulldogs, but he played for the Dragons and Panthers.
I admire the guess. He played for a lot of teams. Good forward. Good prop. Journeyman. So this fella scored 16 tries in total in the NRL, and he kicked 15 goals. I will say, he didn't score any points for Cronulla.
Okay.
He was in the position of 1 to 7, so he was somewhere in the back line. When he was at the Sharks, we finished 12th. It felt like we finished 28th, but we finished 12th. What else can I tell you about this gentleman? His last game was for the Bulldogs in 2008. His first game. No, not Bryson Goodwin. No, not Bryson Goodwin. Not Teddy Goodwin either. His debut game was against Melbourne in, I think, a pretty infamous game.
I've got it now.
Do you
It's
now?
Nick Youngquist.
The random shark of the week. The very good-looking Nick Youngquist. Well done, Kieran.
Still see him around.
Is he still good-looking? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Don't answer. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
He's still good looking.
I mean, he didn't do it for me, but I know that he was a model and people liked him. Anyway.
I think he was like Calvin Klein or something like that at one stage.
Oh, I think he had a good career, yeah. Random shark of the week is Nick Youngquist. What are your memories of him?
Game. I remember how fast he was. And
he's fast, yeah.
Yeah, he was really quick, and it was one of those guys that had came up from the 20s that had a bit of hype about him at that time, and the whole thing was like, this guy is, once he gets into open space, watch him go. Unfortunately, it seemed like when he was playing for us, we never had the ball, and that he was just being targeted in defense, and we never got to see his speed. So he didn't score a point for us?
No. I don't remember the hype.
I remember he was quick, and I remember people were saying, like, if this guy gets into space, like, watch him go.
Sure.
So he debuted in 2003, right?
Yeah.
And then he was pretty much straight off to the Dragons the next year. I think he was one of those guys where after his debut, they put a line through him pretty quickly, and he never really came back from memory.
Which is not really fair because he played in a absolutely disastrous season with a disastrous coach, and who knows what a Stuart Raper could have brought out of him. Who knows? But
he wasn't set up for success.
No points for us. 5 games for the Dragons over 2 years, 7 games for the Panthers. 7 then 11 for the Panthers, then 4 for the Bulldogs. So, he was a fringy, to be fair. But some good memories of Nick Youngquist flying down the wing. And that's your random shark of the week. Well done, Kieran. It took you longer than I thought, but only because I probably made it a bit harder for you than I.
They were a little bit obscure.
They were obscure, but that's what we're doing. We're not here to make it easy for you. Kieran, we're not here for much longer anyway, but what do you think is going to happen on Friday night against the Titans?
I'm just very, very hopeful that I don't have a situation where I feel as frustrated and annoyed with this team. Because, again, I do love this team. I do like our roster. I do think we can go on a bit of a run given the state of the competition. I'm not saying that we've got an unreal roster or anything like that. I do think it's wide open. I think anybody can make the grand final and lose to Penrith. But other than that, mate, I just, I want to see them do well. I want to see them not start the way they have. I'd like to see a little bit of change in that 17. And, I'm really hoping for a good performance. And I'd love to see Nico dominate and shut some people up.
Yeah, I think that's my main request from the team is to help him out and make him look as good as what we know he can be. Yeah. The fact he's making so many tackles, I'm wondering if we can somehow. I know I don't want to shift him around the field too much, but can he get some help out there, or I don't know, can they shut it down before it gets to him a little bit? That's a lot of tackles, 32 for your half.
It's also too, the Bulldogs are super stacked on that side with Burden, Cherry, Kick Out. Yeah. So I don't think he's going to be faced with that every week. But every week he's going to have big second rowers running at him for sure.
I like the fact that he didn't miss a tackle. And so if you look, if the Titans look at the stats sheet and they go, let's run at Nico because he's a halfback. They'll be like, oh, we didn't miss a tackle. Let's go to the other side, maybe. So maybe there'll be some relief there. I don't know.
Is that David Fafita's side?
It is.
Yeah. Well, again, so the Titans' game plan is basically give the ball to David Fafita, right? So
yeah,
he's in for another big night, right? So again, focus on what you did. You did a great job of defending kick out. You know, there's that saying that they used to have from ECW, you know, accentuate the positives, eliminate the negatives, focus on what you can control. Let's get Paul Heyman, the wise man, in here. I think he's got a bit of free time at the moment.
And you know what I started watching? Like I finished work super late last night and I just started watching stuff like you do. And I got onto... You know, the former great WWE Tough Enough contestant Maven.
I was watching Maven last night too.
So he's got a bunch of stuff on YouTube. He's sort of basically telling you how the business is done. This was something else. This was him with... who are the two Dudleys? It's Bubba and
Devon.
Devon.
So
He was with
Devon.
Yeah, he was with Devon. So Maven and Devon, like now in like modern times, they were talking as two mature guys. And the episode was about, and you'll be able to help me out with the name, early in Devon's career when he was the tag team partner to the young kid against, like there was a Vice show about it. The guy that got absolutely mass transit. So what the episode was they were watching the video, you could see the video, and Devon's taking you through the whole, from the start of the night through till the end. And I'm watching this after a long night of work, and I want to zone out, but I also don't want to have nightmares. And so I've realized what's going to happen. I'll keep watching, and I was like, you know what, I need to stop. But if you're interested in the mass transit incident, and this is for our viewers who are 18 years and over, there's a thing on YouTube about it with Maven and Devon kind of talks you through it pretty honestly. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because we're in a grim mood.
Yeah, I was watching Maven last night talking about why he doesn't talk to Randy Orton anymore. You know, it was 20 minutes of him telling the story, and basically it's because he doesn't work at the WWE anymore. So I completely wasted 20 minutes of my night last night.
I think Maven's had some huge YouTube hits for different episodes he's done, and he's just a bit like us. He's stretching the content, you know. So
he's trying to monetize that channel as best he can. God bless him.
We're going to get out of here. Kieran, thank you for your time, and we will talk to everyone during the week. This is SharkCast Pod. We really appreciate you guys and girls for tuning in, and there's not much more to say because we got to go. Up Cronulla. Kieran, enjoy your week. We'll see you out at Coffs Harbour. Let's go. Let's get that W. Enjoy your week, everyone. Speak to you soon.